His name is Manuel von Ribbeck. He's a Chicago-based attorney at law, and he's here, I guess, to look. Well, let me find out. Good morning. Welcome to Smile Jamaica. I won't preempt you. Why are you
Thank you.
In Jamaica? We do have lawyers in Jamaica, don't we?
Absolutely.
So why are you here?
Well, first I'd like to thank you for having me here. I was invited by a number of lawyers from the local bar to jointly prosecute the case against all of those who may be responsible for this incident. Okay,
we're talking about the American Airlines crash, by the way. I didn't say that at the start. So you were invited by local lawyers. So the local lawyers didn't think that they could handle the case properly?
Well, because we are dealing with an international case in which we have jurisdiction over the parties in Jamaica and in the United States, obviously someone who practices only in Jamaica is not able to file in the United States. And likewise, I have to work with local lawyers to file any actions in Jamaica if necessary.
So specifically, your role is what?
To represent those who have been injured and affected by this incident so that they could recover for their damages.
What kind of timeline are the passengers looking at between now, almost immediately after the accident, and at some point when they will receive compensation?
Well, the first thing is to determine if they have achieved their maximum level of recovery. And once we determine what their permanent damages are, then we will try to see what amount of money will be necessary to help them for the rest of their lives, especially if they have permanent damages. At that point, we could do a computation of how much that will be necessary for them.
Some may say that it will be a clear-cut case. American Airlines may have been negligent and therefore liable. Will they then settle rather than go to court, or is it still likely that the passengers and yourself will have to go straight to open court?
Well, if you begin with the idea that planes normally do not crash, right? If you take off, you should land somewhere safely. And if a crash happens, someone had to have made an error. Whether that was the airline or perhaps the maker of the plane, if we find that there was a mechanical defect that contributed to that, then all of those who are responsible should compensate the people that were affected. In terms of length of time of the recovery, it depends depending on the injury of each passenger.
It's an unpopular view, certainly in Jamaica, but as you mentioned that it may not necessarily be American Airlines, it may be the manufacturer, which is Boeing. Can it also be determined that the Jamaican Airport Authority was at fault, and would the passengers then bring suit against the Jamaican authorities?
Well, as lawyers, we're obligated to go after anyone who may be responsible. And it is important to see if the safety measures have been taken at the airport as well. Perhaps the length of the runway may need to be modified. There could also be issues of safety after the impact. Was there enough ambulances at the airport? Was the proper equipment there? So if anything, this will help us to improve safety at the airport as well.
I read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you suggested that this particular aircraft has had problems. Is that so?
That is correct. There's no perfect machine. The 737-800 has had several incidents.
What's several?
Well, to bring a couple to you in which we are actually litigating in Chicago right now, where Boeing resides. The headquarters for Boeing are in Chicago, and we have filed for a 737-800 that shortly after takeoff crashed in Douala in Cameroon. It was a Kenya Airways flight. So that's a case that is pending in Chicago. We are also working on a case, another 737-800 that crashed in Amsterdam, in Holland, recently, last February. It also involves a number of people from many different backgrounds. It's an international flight, and another 737-800, which we filed in Chicago.
Were there any fatalities in the other incidents that you mentioned?
In the first one, in the Kenya Airways crash, all the passengers passed away. And in the crash landing in Amsterdam, 9 of them died.
Have you met with any of the passengers?
We have met with a few. We have met primarily with local lawyers who represent a number of them. And we're going to jointly represent them both in Jamaica and in the United States.
And all this would be individual cases. You're not going to grab 10 people and say, all right, we're going to work everyone together. You'll have to do this individually.
Because the injuries are so different, each case is treated completely individually.